This is the first part in a series about the rising signs in astrology. So we're going to go through each rising sign one by one, but we're going to begin at the beginning, which means that this video is about Aries risings. We're going to start by talking about the archetype that Aries is embodying with that first house energy, and then we're going to move in and talk about the journey of the Aries rising birth chart house by house. So Aries risings are cardinal fire. Cardinal is the modality, fire is the element, and they are the diurnal expression of Mars, which basically means that they are expressing an outward, externalized representation of that Mars energy, Mars being their ruling planet. They are symbolized by the ram, and they can kind of be the spark. Not only are they the beginning of the zodiac, but they are cardinal fire, right? They are the lighting of the match. This means that Aries can come with sharp rises and falls in energy and intensity of emotion. They're quick to feel everything, whether that's anger or passion or love or sleepiness, anything. They can be a bit competitive, and they have a tendency to gamify things in life. They can be quite impulsive. We consider Aries to be a little bit rash, a little bit quick, a little direct. They can be quite candid, a little bit forceful, but this doesn't take away from their charisma, because their charisma comes in their authenticity, right? They're still very charming. Aries can be quite rooted in their own perspective, which can lead to the stereotype of them being self-centered, and having that energy on the first house can increase that energy for Aries risings. It just means that they only really know where they're coming from, and they're not making assumptions about other people's perspectives. They're just speaking from their own, if that makes sense. They can be quite decisive, and we think of Aries as very courageous. They're quick to start something new, though, so they can make this decision and then make another decision and then make another decision. We don't always know what the follow-through is going to be. They are so determined, though. Aries have a goal, they set their mind to it, and they're usually going to accomplish it. This can make them great leaders, this along with something else in their birth chart. A few other things. They are confident. We tend to think of Aries as quite confident, and they live in the moment. So they're moving quickly because they're moving from a place of security in this moment. But this is just the first house. We're only talking about what it means to have Aries on the ascendant and Aries on the first house. So this is the energy of embodying it, having it in your personality, having it in your body, being seen as an Aries, right? And in some ways feeling like an Aries. We're gonna have to look to where Mars is in the chart, and that will give more information about how you relate to this first house. But again, just the first house. And so having this Aries energy on the first house is significant, but it also sets up the whole chart. So not only is this Aries energy on the first house, we move then into having Taurus energy on the second house. So what that means is that Aries risings can be incredibly security oriented. They can be very determined to create a sense of stability in their own lives in terms of how they take care of themselves, how they provide for themselves, how they resource themselves, and how they foster their own talents, right? And that this can mean that while we see Aries as quite impulsive, this might be the rising sign that needs to keep a certain job for a certain amount of time because it makes them feel safe. That safety and that stability can come in lots of forms, but you know what I mean. So then moving from there, we have Gemini on an Aries rising's third house. And so having Gemini on the third house means that Aries can be quite talkative, quite energetic when it comes to talking with people they are close to. They can be really quick when it comes to picking up new information and learning new things. And this adds to that energy with Aries about like sort of being quick to pick something up and put it down. And they're fast learners. Then having Cancer on the fourth house, Aries can be quite nostalgic. Aries can care a lot and feel really nurtured by how their home life is. Or that can be a source of nurturing if it's working for them. And they can be very emotionally connected to where they come from, a sort of sense of rootedness, their ancestry, their family, their early childhood. They can have a lot of feelings about this kind of thing. Then moving from there, they have Leo on the fifth house. So having Leo on the fifth house means a certain kind of a need to shine in things that bring them joy. So this can add to that charisma and that confidence that we see in Aries risings, because they approach the things that they reproduce into the world with a certain kind of They're ready to put a spotlight on it. They're loyal to things that make them feel good, and they want to be excited about life. There's a certain vitality here. They want to create things and they want to be seen for what they create. Then having Virgo on the 6th house means that they can structure their days in malleable but quite intense ways. So this is somebody who has a to-do list. They might not always that to-do list might be a scrap piece of paper, but they have a to-do list, right? And they're pretty loyal to that to-do list. They can be quite structured in the way that they approach the processes of their life. They can be really concerned with preventative care for their bodies. And they can be really diligent when it comes to their day-to-day work lives. Then they have Libra on the 7th house, which can make them really good negotiators, and really caring when it comes to their partners, the people they really choose to let in on their life in one-on-one ways. They care a lot about making them feel good, making them happy, making them feel welcome in their lives. And so while Aries can get the reputation of being quite self-centered, when they decide to have another person in their lives, they really want that person to feel just as comfortable with them as they feel with themselves. They want to negotiate with them, and they can be good at arguing as well, but they're good at making their counterpart feel good. With Scorpio on the 8th house, they can be incredibly private about the things that happen in their partnerships, their shared resources. Can be a source of stability for them. They might feel a sort of intensity around what is shared between them and another, and it can be quite private for them. They don't really feel like that's other people's business a lot of the time, but they can put a lot of effort into it and a lot of attention into their shared resources, into what they share with their partners, what they share with business partners, and how they handle money that they don't necessarily make for themselves. And then with Sagittarius on the ninth house, Aries risings can be incredibly adventurous. They can be really longing for new things, new experiences, and this adds to that sort of zest of life that we see in them. But going along with Gemini in the 3rd house, Aries risings are a lot smarter, I think, than they get credit for being, because they have a great capacity to handle big new ideas and the details of information at the same time. Then they have Capricorn on the 10th house. This to me is one of the major reasons why we see Aries risings as a good leader. Not that Aries energy isn't a good leader, because it is, but that Aries energy coupled with that Capricorn energy at the top of that chart is, I think, why we're so quick to fall in line with Aries risings when we are. They can be incredibly determined and diligent. They have a structured big picture goal for themselves very often, or a goal for the way they want to impact the world. And they tend to want to leave a lasting impact on the world. They can be great people to work for, really organized and fair in a lot of ways. It can add to the kind of harshness that we see in them, the directness, but there's a longevity to Aries risings that this Capricorn on the 10th really shows. Then they have Aquarius on the 11th house, which is speaking to the way that they operate in groups and the way that they search for a sense of belonging and how they foster community. And they do so in this very theoretical way. Aries risings might be great at bringing big groups of people together in a sort of detached way, and community is usually a very big value for them in a certain kind of way, even though that Aries archetype can often be seen as a little bit solitary in a certain kind of way. But with Aquarius on the 11th house, they might have really structured approaches to groups, and the groups that they belong to might be really important for their sense of identity in a certain kind of way. But yeah, their groups matter to them and they're a certain kind of structured. And then finally, with Pisces on the 12th house, Aries risings have a really dreamy and kind of ethereal inner world. And so while they might come through with the harshness of Mars on that first house, their internal self is longing for this deep collective connection. And they can be really old souls, even though they have this new energy on the surface. Pisces on the 12th can make them feel a little bit lost, a little isolated from other people, even when they're with other people. So even though they're so charismatic, they might actually feel lost in big spaces. They might feel a need to retreat into themselves quite often, and they might have a really malleable relationship with their internal selves. So that's the journey of an Aries rising. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to do Taurus next. Let me know if you have any questions about Aries risings. Just under 10 minutes. Wow.